Howdy y'all, Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee. And as I look at the upper left portion of this map here, I get to thinking, I should really map that out and build something incredible on top of it. And I was thinking about doing either some sort of vampire castle or something along those lines. And we need to go gather some material to actually make the maps. So as we travel to our little reed base over here, our little reed farm, I guess you should say, it's for young children. It's an easy reader farm. But I was talking to my daughter Corinne on our vacation that we just got back from. As we were driving, I was like, I think it might be interesting to try and build a vampire castle in Minecraft so that I could do a Halloween event with my friends. Now, I didn't say the Halloween event part because she doesn't understand that, but it's going to take a long time to build this vampire castle. So if I want to have it done by October so I can do a Halloween game with my friends, maybe I should start now. And I was asking her, what kind of stuff should go in the vampire castle? Because I was envisioning I would model it off of Castle Ravenloft, which is Tracy and Lori Hickman's famous Dungeons & Dragons castle. The thing is 360 feet tall. They came up with it back in the early 80s, and it is one of the most famous locations in Dungeons & Dragons. But at the same time, if I build it to spec, that doesn't leave a lot of room for improvisation or personalization. I want to build something that is mine. Maybe that's a homage to the Castle Ravenloft, not just a replica of Castle Ravenloft. But anyway, so I started talking to my daughter about, hey, if I wanted to do this game with my friends where they pretend to be adventurers for Halloween, what kinds of stuff could I put in the vampire castle to make it more exciting? And she does not have a really good grasp, let's say, of dungeon diversity. Traditionally in Dungeons & Dragons, you might have, a cave or something where, okay, maybe some kobolds live in the cave, but there's also some orcs that live in another part of the cave, and there's also some random monsters that are unthinking, unspeaking, just terrible beasts that happen to reside there as well. And they present different challenges and might even fight among each other. That's not how you make paper. But, anyway, so I suggested her give me some ideas for what could go in a vampire castle for a game. And her suggestions, which I wrote down because I felt like she was giving me some pretty good ones. My wife was driving at the time, and she was happy with anything that was not my daughter screaming. So, because, long car rides with children can be frustrating. Anyway, so her first suggestion was to make a sign outside the castle that says, "No alive people alive allowed in here." So, I'm going to have to do that no matter what I do. Then, in terms of the kind of creatures that would be about, she suggested vampire spiders, which, I asked, how are those different from normal spiders? And she says because they bite you and they suck your blood, which, okay, that's fair. That's a understandable way to make that distinction. This seems reasonable. She's thinking, that's fine. But then I was like, well, what else? And she says, make a vampire floor that bites non-vampires when they step on it and suck up their blood. And she just basically starts listing all of these things that are vampire before the name of something else. And then they bite people and suck up their blood. And I was just like, well, what about just normal wolves or something like that that might be howling in the distance? She's like, no, they need to be vampire wolves, and they need to bite people, and they need to suck their blood. And so my favorite of her suggestions was she wanted to have vampire pears that fall off the trees and have wings and teeth, and then they suck up the blood of the adventurers and turn red. And I was just like, okay, yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. Just having these green pears flap away from the tree and then bite people, pretty terrifying. I think there's definitely some merit to that one. So let's see. I'm gonna need to go north of this map that I popped off the wall, and then head, I guess, east. Yeah, that's it. So we're just going to head generally northwest for a minute. Let's see. So other suggestions were like vampire skeleton that bites people and sucks up their blood. She thought the vampire skeletons should work for the vampire king and queen, who also bite people and suck up their blood, but that the vampire skeleton would have a workspace, and if people entered his workspace, he would bite people and suck up their blood, which I guess probably comes from the fact that I have a workspace, and if she enters it, she gets yelled at for possibly breaking the computers. But, well, not really anymore. Now that I've moved to the studio, it's not as much of an issue. She didn't really get yelled at usually. I just gotta be like, no, 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 nudge. Let's go over here. I gotta steal some of this gravel. So this is the area I was actually thinking of using for the castle here. Oh, yeah, one other note. The vampire spiders and vampire wolves and all that do not turn into vampire bats. The vampire pears were the only things that would actually, like, have the ability to fly other than the vampire king and vampire queen. Although, I asked her, you know, like, should the vampire skeleton be, like, just wearing, like, should the vampire skeleton have clothes like a normal vampire, or just be, like, walking around like a skeleton with no clothes on? And her suggestion was, he wears a vampire shirt, but has real teeth sewn into his shirt, which presumably can also bite people and suck their blood. So, I thought that was pretty good. Also, they would have a vampire car that sucks up people's blood, and they would have no non-vampire workers, because the workers would get their blood sucked up by everything else in the castle. So, she's clearly thought this through pretty plainly. Let's go ahead and bust out this map here. I was thinking about getting the maps all the way to the coastline. But yeah, putting this big vampire castle kind of here, which I think is around elevation of 90. Yeah. So then if the castle is 360 feet or 120 meters tall, I could start at the, you know, level of 90 and then build upward from that. The walls for the castle Ravenholm are massive in the original guide. They're like something like 30 meters tall themselves. So that would be quite the thing to deal with. I've got to make sure I don't jump into lava or something dumb accidentally here. But what might end up happening, so just to give you guys a sense of what the actual adventure is, if you've managed to sit through all of this speaking of vampires and you're not too terrified of my 4-year-old's imagination or lack thereof when it comes to the sorts of threats inside a vampire's castle. I think most of her exposure to vampires is from Adventure Time, which had a pretty good mini-series about vampires a little while back called Stakes that we enjoyed. But okay, yeah. Interesting. Is Cleo building creepy eyes out in the ocean? Those look like something Cleo would build. Or maybe those are some sort of buoys or markers. Let's continue this way just to get the edge of the map filled in. There we go. That's pretty cool. I'm already glad I'm doing this mapping project. Let's go ahead and get this one back out, because I'm going to have to go past it again. So where was I? Vampires. Oh, yeah. So the concept of the Ravenloft castle setting is that on Halloween, Tracy and Laurie Hickman would run a game for their friends where they had this really incredibly detailed dungeon that was based on a castle they imagined. And it was very three-dimensional. A lot of D&D maps at the time were very flat. Like, you would just be in a cave, and then you might go down to a lower level of the cave, which was also massive and flat at some point. But it didn't have a lot of, like, depth to it in terms of, like, general sense of movement. Whereas the castle is just, like, hugely, tons of stairs up and down, trapdoors and slides and chutes that you could fall into, stuff like that, all over the place. So I was thinking, like, oh, you know, I could maybe try to set this up in-game and then run some of the hermits through it on Halloween, or, like, in advance of Halloween, and see how they do. But it's going to be a huge project. if I do it. And I saw that some people have already actually done this in Minecraft, which is kind of like, you know, it's cool. Like, I'm not going to be the first person to build the Washington Monument or the Jefferson Memorial in Minecraft. When I made those a few years back, I'm sure somebody else had already done them. But you know what? It was something where I felt like I was putting my own little spin on it, and those like little models of these famous memorials were pretty, I could construct each one in like 1 or 2 episodes. Whereas if I were to construct Castle Ravenloft, it would take like forever. It would take episodes on episodes. It would be, this thing is, the walls of this castle are 7 meters thick and contain a space larger than a football field. So, not entirely sure how much I want to do this. But if I did, it would be like a 4 to 6 hour adventure through the castle for the other hermits. So I'd also have to do this well in advance of Halloween so we could coordinate recording schedules and have like a Saturday where everybody, like sometime in late September, maybe gets together one day. If we could get 4 to 6 people, that'd be enough, and then run through it. But really, this is such a huge project. I think I'm going to do a smaller scale thing first. I think I'm going to try and build a location from another D&D like dungeon location. And I've got a few in mind, but basically my idea would be I would build the location somewhere around here, and everybody would have like a chest that they would dump all their normal gear into, and then they'd have their actual D&D character sheets, but we would like walk through the map while I dungeon mastered it, and they would have real dice probably. I don't know, I'd have to really think this through a little bit. Let's go ahead and improve our map board here by adding another layer up top. And that is the first thing on my to-do list. So we're going to dump this sign, grab these sea lanterns here. Can I grab this as well, this item frame? Will it let me target that? No, maybe not. Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm going to guess that this one's here then. And that one's there. Okay, great. So, you know, if you look at this, we have this huge space here to build a castle. And it would be visible for a long distance. But really, if we want to do something on that scale, if we want to try and run this game, we need to build something at a smaller scale and then test the idea early. Also, like, just building the walls of this thing alone would take so long. I would need a ton of off-camera time. You know what I think I'm going to do, though, is I think I'm going to grab this empty map and this map, because this one's missing a corner. We can definitely improve that. So let's go fill in this map and get one more piece of that there. Let's go this way. Great. And so I think I need to go diagonally northeast of here. So we're almost to this island now. And Tinfoil Chef has welcomed in the sun. So if we just kind of continue broadly in this direction, we'll be able to grab probably the edge of Mumbo's territory. Let's see. Wonder how he's been doing. You go away for a few days and then you come back and Mumbo Jumbo has probably like done a million things. Actually, it looks pretty empty in there. So that's fine, actually. Okay, so I'm to this side of the island that I need to be, and I'm north of there. So, new map. Great. These clearly don't align, which is good, because they're intended to be diagonally offset from each other. So, that is a quick fix. So, in terms of being able to see the castle, I mean, if I build it up here, like, it would dominate this part of the landscape. Anybody sailing past here would be able to see the walls alone would just be huge. So, how high is 30 meters worth of walls, you might ask? Well, let me tell you, it is a lot. Let's just, do we have any fake wall building material? I guess I could use dirt, but that's ugly. I'm not going to add dirt pillars to my base on purpose. That would be embarrassing. So, let's go ahead and run back over here. grab some materials and set down some corners for these walls. Boom. And I gotta switch hands, apparently. Switch. Boom. So this is already looking a lot better. We've got the great untamed Southland here, but I think setting up shop up here might be promising. So let's grab, just for reference, get a sense of how high would 30-meter walls be. Now, the walls of the castle should probably actually be either cobblestone or nether brick. I'm not sure which. I think nether brick will look more foreboding. That's not how you do that. But I feel like stone bricks will give me more flexibility to mix in other things with the construction. So you've seen how Wells, when he builds his big castles, he'll texture it by mixing in andesite or other stone with the stone bricks. And the fact that the stone bricks also allows you to do mossy stone is a pretty big deal. But let's go ahead and start on one of the corners of this wall here. Okay, so this is the height of one of the walls that surrounds the castle. This is going to bring us up to level 120. Now, the actual highest peak in the tower would bring us up to level, let's see, 90 plus 120 would bring us up to level 210. So it would be way higher than this. This castle would be massive. And maybe constructing it at something like 5/6 scale or something would be wise, just to kind of simplify things. But anyway, I don't even know if this is going to work. I gotta build a small dungeon first and test it out with people in the area. Yeah, that is a pretty big wall. I don't think that, even though the walls, according to the dimensions of the game, would be 7 meters thick, which is insane. I'd probably make them hollow just to be simple, just to keep things simple. But yeah, this would be a very dominating feature of the landscape. If you came out to see a little bit here. Let's go see what this stuff is over here. Is this part of those weird creepy eyes? Is that something past those? What is that? That's like fancy ice or something. Somebody making some sort of weird fancy ice bridge? Huh. Well, whatever that is, it's definitely strange. Some sort of weird diving board? Well, anyway. Yeah. If we had walls extending out above the landscape that high, though, you would see them. That would be... Let's see, if that's... Just do some quick math. If that's about 30 high to here, and it's going to be... So the structure would extend about to here, and then go up again, then over, and the castle peaks would be like way up there. Yeah, I don't know if I want to do this a mega project. I might really have to consider it. Especially, like I said, because people have done it exactly to scale already. So if I was going to do it, I'd want to do something interesting with it, or put an interesting twist on it. And I haven't devised that yet, although setting up the test dungeon will give me the opportunity to do so. Now, I probably should not just leave that there as like 2 blocks hanging out, or 2 pillars hanging out by themselves, you know, just chilling. But at the same time, if I'm already getting started on this, it kind of feels like I should just, you know, why go backwards when I'm already making progress? Look, the wall is, I don't know, what, probably 0.000025% done. Why tear down my progress now? If anything, I should continue. Obviously, I'd do an actual floor plan, laying out the precise location of the towers along the wall, the buttresses, and things like that before I actually built the whole thing upward. But I am curious if I'm just let's just give this a little bit of detail here to make it look intentional. So if somebody sees this, they'll think that this is supposed to be here, and not just like a noob pillar. It doesn't necessarily do much yet, but, or anything yet. But yeah, we'll leave this like so, just as kind of a marker. And wow, I don't think I've ever built something this tall. Well, I mean, the Shears Tower was tall, but like, this is going to be a lot of work to do. So, I'm on the fence. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I'd love to hear what suggestions you would have for interest in monsters for a vampire dungeon. Ones that do not necessarily bite you and suck your blood would be welcome. I think I'm going to probably use Chris Perkins' Death House campaign as my test dungeon and build a interpretation of that for my village. One of the nice things about that is that Death House actually already is a house, and I need to build houses for my village. Plus, so then I can just integrate it neatly into the bay, as is. And it wouldn't necessarily, unlike the castle, take forever to do, you know. So, it would have a crazy dungeon underneath it, though. So, that might take some time to build out. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because of the size of the dungeon, I don't know if I could put it up on one of these shelves without that. Oh, well, I guess I could just have the dungeon descend below the waterline and hopefully not run into a ravine or anything public. I don't know. I'd have to work it out. But yeah, this has been a good planning session. It's good to go on vacation and just kick around ideas and come back and just mess with everything a little bit. See what makes sense. Man, I gotta say, I just love riding my boat around the bay. This is why I don't stream Rocket League. I just like driving the car so much. You guys would be like, Joe, why are you just driving this car around? You know, you can leave practice mode and, like, knock a ball into a goal. And I'm like, no, I can't knock a ball into a goal. I might as well be in practice mode. This is more fun. So, yeah. Also, a lot of you guys commented I should do, an end-themed tower for where this meets the land here, with, like, end brick or purple. And I'm really keen on that. That is a brilliant idea. I haven't made any, big trips into the end recently, and that would be really fun. So, yeah, we got some stuff coming up this week. So, figuring out where we want to put a haunted house, building our storage sheds, figuring out the feasibility of Castle Ravenloft over here. One thing I might try doing is building like a 1/20th scale model of it, just to give you guys a sense of the architecture. And what I'm thinking about doing. Oh, it's because, yeah. Oh, because the walls would be 1 block high, and then the tallest tower on the inside of the walls would be 4 blocks high. So that would be kind of closer to my Big Ben build, you know. Then maybe 1/30th wouldn't do it justice. We'll have to play with it. So one last thing I want to do before I go is add new caps to the map's pillars. I'm just gonna climb up here real quick with these quartz stairs. 1, 2. Let's see, how does that look? Looks okay. Maybe I'd want to put quartz blocks on the bottoms here. And I definitely do need to fill in the rest of this map, but I'm feeling really good about what we got so far. This is going to be a great area. This is going to be a great season. I guess I'm 27 episodes into the season, and I'm excited about starting this season. But considering I tend to do 100 or more episodes per season of Hermitcraft, we are going to have a great time. So, anyway, feel free to leave all your suggestions, comments in the YouTube comments below. I do read them all. And until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring.